Hello, and in today's video we're going to talk about the first card expansion pack for the Dark Dungeons board game. So we've already reached the first stretch goal, the audio soundtrack, and that's going to be added to all pledge levels. The next stretch goal, which we're already part of the way towards, is going to be for the first card expansion pack. So this will be a pack of cards, very much like a pack of playing cards. It will come in a separate little tuck box, and it will add various options. And there are 4 options that this pack will add to your game. So the first of these is stairs. So as you will probably already know, Sorcerer's Cave was an inspiration for this game, or one of the early inspirations anyway. And in Sorcerer's Cave, you famously ended up having dungeon levels where your main level was on the table and your level 2 was over here and your level 3 was over there on the floor, and the level 5 was on that table, level 6 in the lounge, and so on. So this is going to do something similar, not quite as bad as that because there won't be as many stairs. But in the adventure card pack, you will shuffle a set of these. And there'll be 5 of these. And there'll be 5 different staircases. So rickety stairs, spiral stairs, stone stairs, crude stairs, etc. So when you draw that in a room, it means there is a staircase leading down. So what you then do is you put that card on the room. You place another dungeon tile off to one side to make a new level, give yourself enough room. And you do need more space for this. And this is one of the trade-offs you need when you have spares. So you turn your card over, and if you interact with it, you find the corresponding stair card. So there will be another one that says, oh, hang on. Sorry, I haven't got it on here. But there'll be another one that says rickety stairs. These stairs go up. So you'll put the up staircase on the new tile. You'll put the down staircase on the tile you've just drawn, and you can freely go between them. Now, with rickety stairs, you can't run through them because they are rickety, and so on and so forth. And there might be special rules for some and not for others. Now, if the tile you draw on the new level is a room, you draw another adventure card. So there might still be a monster in that room. If it's a corridor, then it's corridor. Now, if you get a second staircase going down, you then need to put your tiles in the right place so that they correspond to each other and so on. When you're on levels 2, 3, 4, 5, if you draw a staircase, you can actually choose for it to go up again. And so you would then take the corresponding card, stair card, and that's in a little separate pile over to one side. You take the corresponding stair card, put it on the room you've just drawn, and go up a level and put the downstairs there on that bit. And so what this allows you to do is to get a couple of levels, 2, 3, 4 dungeon levels potentially. And in addition to that, there are also trapdoors. Now, the trapdoors are one-way staircases, and there will be a trapdoor above stair card. You can't go up through a trapdoor unless you have the levitate spell. And so the levitate spell is going to be added to the pack. Now, if you drop through a trapdoor, you take some damage. If you've got the levitate spell, you don't. So the levitate spell will allow a wizard to more easily go between levels. And indeed, there's also going to be a portal spell that opens a portal between tiles. So with the standard game, if you've got 2 rooms next to each other with a wall in between, the portal will allow you to go between those. It's a one-off spell. It doesn't stay open. You just go through, and that's the end of it. But the portal spell will also allow you to go down a level. But if you go down, then the portal closes again. You'd have to recast it to do that again. And either you fall and take damage, or you have the levitate spell, and so on. So by adding in levels, it adds to the complexity of the dungeon, because if you're on level 3 at this end, when the boss is found at the other end of level 1, you're a long way away. So there are levels. But also, what it will do is there will be an option and there'll be a card so that level 2 monsters are tougher than level 1 monsters, and level 3 are tougher than level 2, and so on. Very much mimicking the difficulty tables in AFF, in basic D&D, in D&D, and so on. So the deeper you go, the harder it is, but the more treasures you get. So you've got the option for greater rewards if you want to fight tougher monsters. So levels are going to be entirely optional. You can play without levels and play it as is, or you can put the level cards in, entirely up to you. Now the next bit, there we go, you lose a stamina if you go down. Zero trapdoor. Now the next bit is going to be a weapon deck. So there's going to be a small weapon deck, similar to the ability cards, similar to the dungeon condition cards. Every hero is going to be assumed to have their weapons, potentially shield if they've got armor, and so on and so forth. Very much like the original Fighting Fantasy role-playing game, you're assumed to have armor and your weapon did a base damage. With the weapon cards, you will also be able to, depending on the option you use, either draw one to begin with, or find a treasure card that says there is a weapon here, or find a weapon rack that enables you to take 3 weapons and pick one of them. Now, you can only carry 1 weapon. If you think back to the original game books, if you found a really good sword, you could take it if you dropped your original sword. And if it turned out to be cursed, well, tough. Or if it broke, then tough. So if, for example, you have a Morning Star, it's a dangerous weapon, and it will do 2 damage to enemies. So against an ogre, it can defeat an ogre in 1 round. It can defeat a troll in 1 round, and so on and so forth. Very dangerous. But if you roll a double, it also does 1 damage to you, and that's whether you win or lose. So that's actually quite risky. Dangerous, but risky. Similarly, there will be the boar spear. So long spear, crossbar, designed for fighting animals. If you fight an animal, you get +1 to your attack roll. A non-animal, -1 to your attack roll. So if you're carrying it around, there's lots of animals, then it's a really good weapon to have. But if you face a non-animal, then it isn't. And so these weapons, and there will be a tower shield in there, there will be a falchion in there, there will be a 2-handed sword, and so on and so forth. And all of these give you, again, a slight difference, because if you're a warrior with a boar spear, it plays differently to a warrior with a Morning Star. And so like the ability cards, like dungeon condition cards, they add to the replayability because they make every game different. And again, you can play without the weapons or not, that is up to you, but you will get the treasure cards, you will get the weapon racks and stuff in here. Then we've also put in a few cards to expand on the whole inventory. So, for example, there's going to be a pack mule. Now, this is a treasure you find. So it's tied up in a room. You can take the pack mule. You can put 6 inventory cards on it, 6 item cards. However, if this is stolen, you lose everything that's on it, and whoever steals it from you takes it from you. So in a competitive game, a mule is great, but it's also risky because anything on there can be stolen en masse. And similarly useful in a or different in a competitive game is a secret pocket. This doesn't take an inventory space, and any item you place on top of it in your inventory cannot then be stolen. Now, it says it cannot be stolen by an enemy monster. And you're thinking, well, do any monsters steal? Well, some might. And certainly in future expansions, you may well run up against thieves and pickpockets and monsters who, rather than take stamina from you in the defeat, you take a treasure. So the secret pocket will benefit you against those enemies too. Now, the last mini deck within this pack, so there's 4 mini decks. The last mini deck are mission cards. So there will be 1 with the rules on, and there will be 10 of these. So this mimics many of the game books, because in a lot of the game books, you had a mission goal. You had to collect 10 explosive eggs, or you had to collect 10 fragments of a magical scroll, or you had to collect 6 keys to allow you to get into the boss room, or whatever. And this really harks back to that. So if you put the mission goal cards in, and bear in mind that if you shuffle them into a treasure deck, you may not draw every treasure card as part of a dungeon, but you put them in, and when you find it, you get a mission goal card. You put this in your inventory. Now, if you've got 1 of these, 2 of these, 5 of these, 10 of these, they still only take up 1 space. So they stack in your inventory. However, if you get to the boss and you have none of these, the boss is very powerful. And your hero will have a -3 on combat rolls, on spell casting rolls, on avoidance rolls. So if there is, for example, a boss where you have to roll a 7+ or something happens, then you will have a -3 on that. So you'd need to roll a 10+ if you have none of them. If you have all 8, you have +3 on all your rolls. It's quite easy to beat the boss, but you've got to get all 8. Now, getting 8 of these in a 30-round game is really difficult, really difficult. But if you're playing multi-treasures on lower levels, it becomes slightly more doable, because if you can quickly get down to level 3, you can defeat an orc and get potentially 3 treasure cards. And so therefore, you can get more treasure cards, then you get through the pack quicker, which means you get more goals, but then the monsters are tougher, etc. And again, this is one of these switches, game switches. You can flick the switch to goals or not. And if you do goals with multi-levels, then that gives you another tactical option. If you do goals on a sandbox game where you just keep going and going and going and going, again, it allows you to almost to emulate that game book, especially in a solo. You keep wandering around till you've found the goals, and hopefully you can survive long enough. So there are, again, these expand the way you can play a standard game, a standard solo, collaborative, competitive, but they also add other options to interact with other options to make your games different every time. And it just really expands the number of ways you can play this game. So we are still, at the time I'm recording this, about 5,800 away, 4,800 away from that stretch goal. If we get there, this pack, which will retail about £8-ish, something like that, that will go into every fan pledges shipment or above, so limited and ultimate and so on. Hopefully this is useful, and I will produce another video soon, especially if we get towards the next stretch goal. Thank you very much for your support, and please do back the project.